Hi, it's me, Andrzej. I'm wandering around motorcycle showrooms because the end of the season is a good time to buy a motorcycle. And you know, sometimes you can spontaneously find something cool. This time I'm at Triumph. The purpose of this video is to encourage you to visit motorcycle showrooms because that's how you'll really find out what's currently available. Today I've got Stanisław with me. We'll start with the best sellers, meaning the segment that is the most popular. Stanisław, because you guys have like year-end price promotions, right? Exactly. There will probably also be some demo fleet for sale. And do you offer any financing options as well?
We do as well.
Okay.
Right now we actually have quite a few of these promotions, and we're making a special effort to prepare these offers for you so that they're really super attractive, but we're also opening the door for people who want to go for leasing. Or for those who simply want to buy a motorcycle with cash, just like that. For the 900, the Tiger specifically, our 900 standing here on the side, or the Tiger 1200s, we offer the option of 101% leasing. So really
I'm topping that, because listen, I've visited a few showrooms and some have 104, others differ, so everyone is trying to outdo each other.
Yes, of course we can try to outdo each other, but let's be honest, is spreading the cost of the motorcycle into installments or financing, which in our case is for 3 years, and basically not paying practically a penny for it, because 1% of the motorcycle's price on an average Tiger with standard specs is about 700 zlotys. Well, you know, that's very convenient.
That's exactly how it happened with me. I just came here spontaneously, saw the speed, we calculated the financing, and I left with my own speed triple 1200.
Exactly, so now you can really buy this motorcycle in a very convenient and comfortable way. And in addition, with the Tiger 900 to 1200 models, we also have a promotion on panniers, which is already very well known on the market. This even combines with the financing option as well.
Okay, so let's talk specifics then. I'm standing next to the Tiger 900 GT Pro, probably a fairly optimal adventure motorcycle, because it's not too big, not too small, and its price is 73,900. So at the end of the season, as of today, how much can we buy one for?
We still have the 2024 model year, meaning this is the latest model. Everything is in line with what's currently available. However, there are still units produced, for example, in December 2024. Well, there are really good discounts on this motorcycle. The 900 in the GT Pro version, exactly like the one standing here, can now be had for as little as 63,000 zloty. Alternatively, you can also get side cases for it in line with the current promotion for 2,490 zloty. Alternatively, if someone is more interested in the off-road option, the ability to go off the beaten path, there's also, of course, the Rally Pro. The Rally Pro is 65,000 zloty. The promotion for the side cases also applies here. This motorcycle is much more geared towards off-road riding. All you need to do is add more off-road tires. It already comes with an engine guard, lower crash bars. It's a bike that will truly let you cross any terrain without the slightest hesitation. But if this is all a bit too much for you, because these are, let's say, our top motorcycles, we also still have literally the last few units available in the entire dealer network of the Tiger 900 GT motorcycle. In other words, the 900 in the GT version, which differs from the GT Pro only and exclusively in terms of equipment. The geometry, engine power, and the way it handles are absolutely identical, and these are motorcycles that, let me put it this way, even with side cases, do not exceed the price of 60,000 zlotys.
This is an absolute rocket of a motorcycle, in my opinion. The only thing I can't stand is that the gauges are just the way they are. Well, tell me, don't you also feel that way, that the Tiger Sport 800 is, for me, crossovers, meaning adventure motorcycles with 17-inch wheels, that's the best there is. You've got a comfortable riding position, great engines, great chassis, and you just accept that when it comes to rough terrain, you'll ride over it rather than plow through like a wild boar, right? And on asphalt, you just have that grip and so on. Sorry, but I'm not going to let this go. I'll keep saying it officially until those gauges finally become a bit more fancy. Unless it's just me who finds it annoying, I don't know.
I mean, there are customers who say the motorcycle is great, but the gauges, I totally understand that. Everyone basically chooses a motorcycle for themselves. It's just like with a bicycle. We tend to treat a car as just a way to get from point A to B, but a motorcycle has to suit us. A motorcycle has to fit us. Above all, it should bring us joy and be tailored to us. If you don't like the gauges, we'll try to find you something else. But as for the Tiger, we'll compare it with the GTR 9, for example, which already has much more advanced gauges. But let's be honest, the functionality here is practically the same as even in the Tiger 900, because we also have the ability to connect to a phone, and we also have turn-by-turn navigation. And above all, we have the 800. Generally, I come from a bit of a different world of motorcycles, in the sense that I like off-road riding, so I obviously need 21-inch wheels, long suspension travel, etc. Well, I had the chance, our first excuse, to ride back from Missouri, and I was shocked at what this motorcycle is capable of. I think this is currently one of the best engines on the market because it has a lot of power and a lot of torque.
3 cylinders.
3 cylinders because it's an evolution from the street. Put into the 800, it handles like a naked, plus we have wind protection and integrated panniers.
That's right.
So it's great.
We know that we're not experts because we already have a more reasonable approach to motorcycles, meaning we don't need a huge engine capacity and so on, but if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time to ride and, for example, rides only from time to time or goes on really long trips fully loaded, then let's be honest, most people need a 1200. I get that too, because, for example, on long rides, the bigger the engine, the better the vibrations. It's more pleasant, it massages you nicely, and it's great to have that extra power. On hand, so here we have the Explorer and the Rally, meaning 19 inches and 21 inches, right?
Exactly, that's right. We actually have 2 Explorers here on the side because, as you know, the Explorer has a bigger tank and better equipment. We also have the Pro version in the showroom just in case to show you. Well, these motorcycles, as you said, are absolute workhorses with a drive shaft. You just get on and ride. Plus, the semi-active suspension completely eliminates any sense that you have luggage, panniers, or a passenger on board. Basically, these are motorcycles designed for people who travel as a pair, right? I mean,
I never really got it. I always wondered what's the deal with people and this drive shaft until I went to the Alps this year and it was pouring rain and my friend kept worrying about his chain, either lubing it or checking it all the time, and that's exactly when I appreciated my own motorcycle. You get on,
you ride and you have total peace of mind. And yes, that's definitely something to appreciate. There are fans of it, but it's like, I profess, you follow one religion and I follow another. It's the same with people. Some like the drive shaft, some don't.
Let's talk specifics. All right, so let's talk specifics. I'd still take the 1000 GT Explorer with the 19-inch, although when I was riding during the tests and switching from one to the other, I didn't think the Explorer handled any worse on 21-inch wheels. Maybe at times it's even a bit livelier, but you'd really have to jump from one to the other to tell. All right, but anyway, here the starting price is $99,900.
At this point, if we want to get it with the highest possible discounts, which in this case do not combine with the T1% leasing, but I'll explain why. Or rather, you'll hear the price and then you'll understand. You get it? Right now we can get this motorcycle for 85,000 zlotys.
1,200 zlotys due to the set and the semi-active
suspension. I'm talking about the Explorer version. The Pro version can be had for as little as 80,000 zlotys. Let's add to that the promotion
for Q-Prem.
Still the same engine, just a smaller tank and slightly less equipment. But what was supposed to stay in terms of mechanics has stayed because we still have the active suspension. In short, what don't we have? We don't have a blind spot assistant, we don't have heated seats. Well, that's the main difference, and maybe also those lower crash bars, and of course we don't have that 30-liter fuel tank, right? We have a 20-liter one instead. But let's be honest, an Adventure 1200 shaft drive semi-active suspension for 85,000 zloty, we're really not paying much more compared to the 900, and we get almost twice the motorcycle.
But it all depends on, what expectations and needs someone has.
Sure.
So this is GT Pro?
Yes, we have the GT Pro, we have the Rally Pro in the latest Sandstorm color from the 2025 model year, so...
What's nice about your setup is that you have a lot of motorcycles, which is actually a bit difficult for us right now, but overall, let's be honest, it's a good thing. Let's go to the ones that interest me the most. I'm always surprised here because, well...
Almost your baby?
Almost my baby. I can't wait to take it out on dry asphalt because I have my own and I'd like to compare how the new RS rides versus my RR. But today we were talking about the price. Because even at the base price, if you think about the competition and what this motorcycle offers, does anything come to your mind? Because, you also have to compare these motorcycles, and you can mention the names of other brands now if anything comes to mind. What is the direct competition for this motorcycle when it comes to price and equipment?
In terms of price and equipment, I think there isn't any.
Exactly.
There isn't such a motorcycle because there are bikes that have Öhlins EC3, in terms of electronic suspension.
But then those are over 100,000.
Exactly, we're talking about Ducati here, for example. Yes. We also have the BMW, the S1000 and M1000. We'll compare it to the M1000 because this motorcycle's rawness really matches it.
Yes, because the thing is, the equipment is closer to the M1000R price-wise to the S1000R, and it's like putting your foot between two bikes, which is the perfect tactic so nothing holds you back. Comparable, and that's the case with the RS, for how much now? In this
Moment, the RS from the clearance sale, just the 2025 model year, is available for 73,500 zlotys. So
It's exactly like the one standing here.
just like the one standing here, basically.
New lighter wheels, what a blast of a machine for that price.
That lighter wheels, active suspension. I'll say more because I had the chance to test it. I rode the previous one and I rode this one. In general, I like the world of nakeds when it comes to getting around. And I also once had the chance to ride the S1000R. I won't say anything bad about the BMW because it's a fantastic motorcycle, but I have to give Triumph credit for one thing. Thanks to this suspension. And the way it's been designed, it's absolutely a power naked that's also comfortable for everyday riding.
Above all, compared to the previous model. The previous model was such that it would just rip itself out of your hands.
And this one is
This one is
milder for sure.
definitely milder. Milder at the bottom, but then you give it gas and it gives you exactly what you need. Yes, it's still a motorcycle.
That wants to throw you off.
That's phenomenal. A motorcycle that, in my opinion, just doesn't want to get old. We talked with Mariusz Młowicki. We were wondering because he would like to buy a motorcycle to have for track days and things like that. You know, the kind that just calls out to you at home. So yeah, leader bikes are kind of cool, but the price is pretty high, especially when it comes to those typical track bikes. They eat up tires, generate a lot of costs, and they're insanely fast. That's great, but in the end, sometimes it can be a bit scary. And we searched and searched and searched and searched and searched, and when it comes down to it, for example, I'm not really a fan of this new super sport class, because each one is kind of so-so, not really for me.
Okay.
And this one? It's awesome. This motorcycle, this concept, this model has been with us for many years and it just refuses to get old. When I remember riding it in the RS version, and you can check out the tests, most of my reviews of all these motorcycles are on YouTube, well, the Street Triple is just a champion, plain and simple.
I also think that this is a motorcycle that learns from us, we learn from it, and it's the one on which you can actually learn the most overall. Well, if someone really wants a motorcycle that you can grow with and that's already track ready, specifically the RS version, because of the suspension, the equipment, of course, as you mentioned, well, the internet is basically buzzing about this bike. You could even joke that this motorcycle has been with us for 3 years in this form, with only the colors changing here and there. And in
Subsequent evolutions and updates, it's been over a dozen years. We go back,
over a dozen exactly.
refined simply to perfection, 59,900. And now I'll say, what, is it also around 8%?
Well, I'll do you one better, because we still have some 2024 models left in black, and the very last units in this gray color. And these motorcycles can now be had for under 50,000 zlotys.
Wow.
Not much under, but still under. There's a 4 at the front. I mean, you
Can't confirm this for me, you can't deny it either, but I have this theory that Triumph pushed a lot of these 24 models onto the Polish market, considering that various other markets are kind of declining, while Poland is growing, and it seems to me that many brands are starting to see the Polish market as one that's able to absorb a good motorcycle at a good...
prices. I would put it differently because from what I know, although of course I could be corrected here, generally if you buy a motorcycle, for example in Germany, the production date isn't important there, whereas here it's highlighted in the documents. Over there, only the registration date matters. Many motorcycles in general, even those coming from the German market to service centers or elsewhere, are most often produced in 2024, but for example registered in 2025. In Poland, this distinction means that buyers have a chance to purchase essentially the same motorcycle, only for example produced in November or December, which obviously won't arrive in Poland immediately after it's manufactured for simply less money, but it's just the model year.
Not bad, not bad, not bad. I won't lie, it's cool, it's cool. The Daytona 660 has huge potential in its engine.
Yes.
The chassis is fine for normal riding, but when you feel that engine, when you start to accelerate, you can feel and hear that it's a Triumph, and you want to go faster with it. Suddenly it turns out that the chassis feels like it was made, at least for me, for a bike with less performance. That's something that should be improved, and then people who actually need a sport bike for track days and so on could look at the Daytona. For now, I see this motorcycle as an urban touring bike with a cool engine, but, well, one for normal, so to speak, riding.
And that's what it was supposed to be. Generally speaking, it's supposed to attract... No, I don't
know, I'm not the target customer.
Me neither. At most, I'm just saying what's in the brochure, of course. However, I generally ride our motorcycles a lot, meaning I also try to understand our product, and I can really confirm what you said here. But you also have to understand why this motorcycle was created, because this motorcycle, well, we already have a bike that's really great for the track. Ready to go, right off the shelf.
But it doesn't have a fairing.
But it doesn't have a fairing, and here this motorcycle is meant to attract younger users, or really entirely new riders on the road, who after all don't necessarily want to have right away. To put it colloquially, they're not looking for a hardcore machine, they just want a motorcycle that gives them the look, really the look of a sport bike. But here we have higher clip-ons, an overall more upright riding position. I'd even say more upright than on a street bike. So this is a motorcycle that looks good. It might even be more comfortable than a street bike. More comfortable, yes, it's definitely more comfortable. You can even see how soft the seat is, and in fact the suspension here is also softened. Because it's not supposed to knock your teeth out and be a typical track bike, it's meant to be a truly everyday motorcycle with a fairing.
43,900. I wrote that now you can buy it for under 40,000. Yes.
Right now we can get a Daytona from the end of year sale for under 40,000.
All right, listen, before we get to the classics, because I've been eyeing this bike for a while, today this one really caught my attention. You see, I'm such an ignoramus that I didn't even know there's an RX, and this is the last one available for sale in Poland?
Most likely, yes. At least I don't see any other one available in the system, and this RX, generally speaking, has had a bit of bad luck, because this particular unit has actually been sold twice already, and both times the final transaction just didn't go through. But just like...
If I didn't already have the speed, then in that case... And this is that moment, like, oh, an unlucky motorcycle. I actually like that, you know? I like to take care of motorcycles that nobody wants, because you probably wouldn't have loved my speed either, but I love it, and I could love this one too.
I think you'd actually love it a lot because it's a significant upgrade. It has fairings like yours, but it's a much more advanced version of your motorcycle.
But it's about what class it is. You know, visually when I
see something...
CNC milled parts, a wide handlebar swapped out for clip-ons, and, sorry, even if you put a tiny fairing on it, you end up with such a track beast that it's just mind-blowing.
I generally think so too, and from what I know, there's actually some British company making these fairings, I mean custom motorcycles for the track. They're already creating something for this motorcycle. But this is a motorcycle that's just packed with details, packed with electronics. Basically, everything that's the best on the market right now is put into this motorcycle. We even have a carbon front fender. We also have an electronically controlled steering damper. It's all included. You would definitely appreciate it. I definitely wouldn't be able to use even 10% of it.
But listen, and here we come back to Triumph's strength. We have a motorcycle that is really... It looks beautiful, has amazing performance, and its base price is 87,000 zlotys, right? And here, maybe this 101% leasing applies to it, or not?
Not for this one. The 101% leasing, to explain quickly, is available for our classics like the Bonneville T120 Black, Tiger 900, and Tiger 1200. Okay, so it's for selected models. So in this case, yes, the 101% leasing was actually created for these motorcycles. Here, we're really relying on very good and powerful price offers. 87,990, which is its base price, is just under 7,000 more than the standard version, and simply the catalog price for the Fider RS.
If I were looking, it wouldn't even take me half a second to decide. If I came in looking for a powerful naked bike, I'd be considering the RS, and if I saw this one, that would be it.
And what's more, let me tell you, now with this promotion, for now this motorcycle is still available because, as we mentioned, it's already one of the last units, and most importantly, it's one of only 1,200 units worldwide. This is a limited edition motorcycle with a strictly defined quantity. Right now you can get this motorcycle for up to 83,500 zlotys. That's almost like a regular speed triple S. Let's move on to the Bonnies. I'm really glad that some of the Bonnevilles still have round analog gauges because I was afraid they'd switch to digital ones.
We know that once again, we don't really know what we're talking about because it turns out that many customers aren't bothered by digital gauges. In fact, some actually want and expect them. Well, I can only speak for myself. For me, round gauges, so there are still classic beautiful motorcycles with round gauges on the floor at Triumph, and as you said, they're under that 101% leasing deal, right?
Yes, they're available with the 101% leasing, and they're also generally available with an additional promotional discount. These are motorcycles that can actually be available starting from around 56,000 zlotys. We're talking about the Bonneville T120 because we also have its younger brother, the T100, with a smaller engine.
12 to 9.
1,200. And here it's 900 exactly. There are, of course, quite a few differences as well, but we especially invite you to visit us, and we'll be happy to explain what really sets these motorcycles apart, because there are some differences. These are, above all, timeless motorcycles. And let me tell you something even better about these gauges. We, you or I, because I'm absolutely a fan of classics, let's cherish these classics while they're still around. That's how I would put it.
Exactly. All right, the Speed Twin is actually Smoku Jezu. Oh, and the Speedy 400, because I think that's what we were talking about. That if we're looking for the best option, the cheapest and the biggest bargain, then it's the Speedy 400, right? Yes.
That's what we have left. That was generally related to a big influx of Speed 400s at the beginning of the year. It was more related to the fact that, thank you. Triumph saw potential specifically in our market, and we really got a large allocation of these motorcycles, but it was always a dump of unsold motorcycles from around the world that came to us from the 24 model year.
So my theory is somewhat justified.
Kind of, yes, I would definitely say so. And I'll go further. These motorcycles have always been attractively priced. Now they're priced amazingly because this is a 2024 model motorcycle that you can get for under 22,000 zlotys. Brand new, unused. You are the ones who will be registering it for the first time.
Yes, it's no secret that it's manufactured in India, right? Yes, not really. Exactly, but honestly, which motorcycle of any brand isn't made somewhere in the world these days? Well, ideally...
Which 400 isn't made exactly there? Yes, in India.
So here it's simply a matter of whether someone likes the style, the shape of the motorcycle, how it rides, how it handles, and so on, what's important to them. There are still days like today when you can comfortably ride a motorcycle like this.
And come here on it. Still some two-strokes. Two-strokes, absolutely, of course, it's the end of the year, so we're slowly trying to reduce the number of two-strokes because we don't want the motorcycles to get used to.
That's a separate topic, because we can talk about promotions on new motorcycles, but someone might still come in looking for something, and suddenly there's a row of motorcycles in front of the showroom, available at even better prices.
Exactly.
That's right, the Speedmaster, which I can't get out of my head. Fortunately, I have other expenses now, but if it were up to me, I'd go for the Speedmaster like a wild boar. That was my second Triumph.
We're really, really happy to hear that. Besides, it's a unique motorcycle. And yes, we actually have two Dymovkas, because now another Dymovka was just coming to us from abroad, from another one of our showrooms, which also falls under our importer. As for the Dymovki in general, if you're interested in them, first of all, we invite you to visit us, and secondly, they're all simply listed on online auctions, so you can also check what's available.
Okay, everything comes with a warranty, done properly, serviced here. Yes. By the way, is there a Speedmaster here at all? There's no Speedmaster?
Not at the moment, because the last new Speedmaster we had in the showroom just got sold.
But listen, the Speedmaster is one of those bikes that's kind of invisible. Hardly anyone knows about it, but once you ride it, you think, damn, what is this? What an awesome machine, especially with that handlebar. I mean, I recently figured out that it probably has those ape hangers, you know, kind of like what people put on bobbers. But...
well, it's a motorcycle that's an advertisement all by itself. It just doesn't want to shout for attention, but those who ride it usually end up really appreciating it.
What's that?
Here we have, just for show, the latest Speed Twin 900. This is literally the newest generation, but we also wanted to show our customers a bit of what you can do with it, so we added some extra equipment. It actually comes with a few more accessories, but since the Speed Twins have started selling a bit more, those accessories have also started going out with customers' bikes. Here we've installed an accessory seat and Fox suspension. These are options you can order and have installed here. The standard version comes with Marzocchi.
Okay, because the thing is, from my own experience, I know that sometimes it's actually much more worthwhile to put better suspension on a street bike than on a sport bike, because it really improves ride comfort, grip, and so on. Safety.
For that reason is also very important.
I mean, yes, because you mentioned safety in extreme cases when you're really pushing it, right? Because you say the stock ones are good enough in practice in every scenario, but even just for comfort, you go over potholes and you don't get jolts in your lower back and so on. It's great that you can order it right away at the dealership because it makes the process easier, right?
Absolutely.
Totally. All right, let's go check out the pretty ones. They're all pretty, but yeah, well...
okay.
With the Bobber 1200, Triumph keeps showing off special paint jobs, and there's never been a time when they weren't beautiful. The worst and best part is that in Poland, the Elvis Presley model wasn't available because of some copyright issues, right?
That's basically right. It just didn't work out because of copyright, so that motorcycle was really released mainly for the American market. But here we also have access to many special editions. Until recently, we had the Bobber TFC, which is basically another version of an absolute icon. And what's best is that a few of these are actually being ridden around Poland, not just sitting in garages, which makes me really happy because, you know, in Poland, limited editions tend to just be static displays or works of art, but what's cool here is that our users, at least our clients, actually ride them. Here we have a representative of our latest special edition, the Icon. The logo, the very first Triumph Motorcycles logo, not Cycles, from 1907, which is pretty cool. Hand-painted pinstripes. If you look, if we were to take this apart here, you'd actually find the initials of the person who did the pinstriping. Ah.
That's cool. In the OC, but there it wasn't... They were done there too, but there were no initials.
But there were no initials. Here, it's shown as something more unique. But even if we took a closer look or zoomed in here, you can see that it's simply done with a brush. truly and by hand. And that's beautiful.
Overall, the details, let's be honest, are the best in the industry. The injection that imitates a carburetor, the battery clamp here, just masterful. World class.
Well, this is a motorcycle that, above all, I call metallurgical. Even the fenders here, everything, it's all made of metal. This is truly a very high quality product, and it's also really unique. By the way, the bobber was the first motorcycle I ever owned, so the sentiment for it has remained, and I just can't let go of the bobbers. Not bad. And above all now, if someone likes this motorcycle, we're back again to great discounts. Because a slightly refreshed version is simply coming out, a version we've actually already talked about. So, for some of these motorcycles, we can even get certain models for under 60,000 zlotys. So generally speaking, around 60,000 zlotys. I'm not talking here about the Icon, which is generally the most expensive paint scheme, but even for this particular motorcycle, there's a really, really good discount available.
Nice, I'm already taking a look here.
Rocket.
Because if you're looking for the best ratio of cubic centimeters to zlotys, well, you just can't do better. There's simply nothing better, that's it.
The price to cubic centimeter ratio is the best.
And this is exactly the one, because I already said during the first test that the GT is, for me, the rocket that's worth buying. Well, there are obviously, if you want to have everything, it all depends on your preferences. But the way this motorcycle rides, it's just out of this world, isn't it?
I mean, there's nothing that can even compare, no matter how much you try to look, I don't know, to the DFL or anything else. There isn't another motorcycle like this one. It's not even about the engine size anymore, it's about its style and the way it delivers power and rides.
The vibrations, what happens, it's not like, you twist the throttle and the world just blurs around you. No, it
rises up, it's so massive, it honestly doesn't care that we're sitting on it, it just
goes, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really fast, but you don't feel that speed because the revs aren't high. And it accelerates with that torque so much that when I was thinking about comparing the acceleration of the Rocket and the Diavel, I thought, no way, the Diavel will eat the Rocket for breakfast. And then it turns out that a lot of people have tried it, and those bikes go neck and neck.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just that this one...
It pulls from the bottom with torque.
It does it so incredibly gracefully and smoothly that you just go fast without even realizing it, and you get this absolutely brutal, intense acceleration, but in a really, truly very composed and controlled way. It just growls and...
This is a motorcycle that, above all, doesn't pretend to be anything. It's a motorcycle that's original in itself. The weight is what it is, but you rode the Rocket yourself, so you know that as soon as you start riding it, you stop feeling that weight. Yeah, the handling is just masterful. The rotating mass of the engine and all that makes this motorcycle just handle fantastically.
It just handles so well. The handling is top-notch. Everything here just fits together perfectly. And then when someone asks you what you ride, you say Rocket 300. If they don't know, but then they find out that you have 3 cylinders, 2.5
liters
of displacement. What is that?
And the tire in the back is really as wide as a roller. But all of this just creates an absolute icon. And actually on the Polish market, it has to be said, and this is probably quite a distinction, that in Poland it's really selling, percentage-wise, like compared to other markets, that the most Rockets are sold here.
But you know what? Poland is a very specific market because we love, and in my opinion, we're still a hungry market. We love what's the best. Poland, imagine this, is also the best market for the Hayabusa in Europe.
Exactly.
So we have, Suzuki's top, fastest, biggest here. It's the same story.
Yes, exactly. And
what can you do here with this Rocket to get one? Well, you come into the showroom and say, oh, I don't know if I want a Rocket. And you say, well, look at this.
First of all, we have these Rockets. The last units are actually available right now off the shelf. After that, we'll have to wait until next year because, as I mentioned, Rockets have been selling quite well this year. But the units we still have, we really have some very good promotions on them. The second thing is, as you said, what can we do to get one? First of all, we can come to the showroom and see for ourselves that this Rocket is unique because we still have in our showrooms
demo models.
Secondly, we have these motorcycles in stock, so you can come and try them out, both the R and the GTK. Actually, our R that was here already has its happy new owner. We have the GTK, just like you, so feel free to come and try it out. And what about the price? At the moment, while the Rocket normally started at 119,900, of course, we're talking about the Storm GT, the latest generation. Right now, with the current sales promotions, you can get one starting from 105,000 zlotys.
100 grand for 2.5 liters. And of course, 100,000 for a motorcycle. Oh my God. But if you look at the market now and count how many motorcycles cost over 100,000 zlotys,
then this motorcycle is actually well priced.
It really is a good price, because unfortunately that's just the reality now. Back in the day, it was unimaginable that a motorcycle would cost 100,000 zlotys, but now I say this: find me a car that could compare. In terms of uniqueness, performance, and so on, the sensations it gives you, and suddenly 100,000 is just a tenth of what such a car would cost.
Exactly.
I won't hide it, I've been thinking about it all the time. A dirt bike to make the first flat tracker in Poland for riding, and I hope I'll get to test it. Tell me, because entering the motocross and enduro market is an incredibly tough challenge, especially when you're a dealership that's used to and experienced with road bikes, with a long tradition, and suddenly you step into this specialized segment. How do you convince people not to choose KTM, Yamaha, or Honda, but to give Triumph a try instead?
First of all, to try out a Triumph motorcycle, you can simply arrange training sessions here with Tomek Wysocki. Tomek has our motorcycles. He's simply our ambassador here.
So you can test it out.
You have the chance, yes, even on a Triumph, to really ride it before you buy. Secondly, if you want to consider buying such a motorcycle, all you really need to do is read its specifications. We know well that generally this motorcycle looks even better on paper than its direct competitor, which is KTM. We're talking about the suspension, the power, and its lightness, because this is the lightest and most powerful cross bike on the market. Of course, we have both cross and enduro versions. In this case, our two demo bikes are the special edition, the 450RC, as in Ricky Carmichael. We also have the 250X here, which is just the basic, supposedly slower version, which in reality, no.
It's the kind you can actually ride.
You can really ride it, because even for a 90-kilo guy like me, this bike wants to throw me off. And since I just like testing things like this and had the chance to ride it, well, this is absolutely a bike. It's incredible. Not knowing much about the motocross world, it was only then that I understood what it means to ride a lightweight motorcycle.
Yeah, listen, we actually have this bike in the editorial office for testing right now, and I avoid riding it because I know I'm going to like it, and I don't want to start my motocross adventure at 40. With motocross, you really have to be determined, but like you said, you can just go straight to training with Tomek Wysocki. You have to be determined. Step by step, you need to train, practice, not like me, who used to ride, knows where the throttle is, and thinks, oh, a jump, I used to do jumps, so I'll just hit a jump now too.
That's true. You really need a lot of humility and a lot of technique here, but the bikes themselves are truly exceptional. Generally, there are already quite a few of these bikes riding around in Poland, because we're really making a big effort to get the motocross scene going here. I'm just talking about to see Triumph actually entering a world that's basically monopolized, you could say monopolized, by Yamaha or KTM. And Triumph is really pushing its way into those ranks here, you could say. This is a bike that's powerful, or even more powerful, and handles fantastically, maybe even better, straight from the factory, because of course everyone customizes their motocross or enduro to suit themselves. But it's also a bike that, price-wise, is currently very competitive. Here we see the 250X, which is listed at 45,495, but we also have a few more bikes because we really only got to know the cross this year, so we do not have a ton of them, just a few, but you can already get the 250 for 41,900.
Okay.
So overall, it's definitely a really good deal, price-wise as well.
That's a lot. You have to go to the showroom?
You're welcome to come by.
Talk. Because your brain gets scrambled. There's this new one, that one, a demo here, another one there, and somewhere in the showroom we have yet another different one.
Sometimes even we are surprised that we have a motorcycle that turns out to be just right for you.
Yes, and you'll end up like me, who surprised myself because I left here once with Pit Triple, and that's where the idea for this series started. This is a very good time to buy a motorcycle.
Thank you, and we cordially invite you.
Goodbye. Amen.